Most people assume that once police place a GPS tracker on a vehicle, the device becomes untouchable. After all, if law enforcement put it there, removing it must be illegal, right? But what if the person discovers the tracker by accident?
What if they have no idea who placed it there? And what if, after finding it, they simply throw it away? Could that decision turn an ordinary citizen into someone facing criminal charges? The answer is far more complicated than many people realize. And one case out of the American Southwest raised exactly that question. It began on a dry spring afternoon outside Albuquerque, New Mexico. 34-year-old construction contractor David Morales had spent most of the day moving equipment between job sites. Nothing about the day seemed unusual. As he loaded tools into the back of his pickup truck, he noticed something strange beneath the rear bumper. At first glance, it looked like a black plastic box attached with powerful magnets. Morales crouched lower. The device didn't belong to him. He had never seen it before. Like many people would, his mind immediately jumped to a disturbing possibility.
Was someone tracking him? The discovery bothered him enough that he drove home and searched the internet for possible explanations. The images he found only increased his concern. Several looked remarkably similar to GPS tracking devices. Over the next 2 days, Morales inspected the object repeatedly. The device remained attached to his truck. It wasn't making noise. It wasn't flashing. It simply sat there, watching. Or at least that was how it felt. By the 3rd day, curiosity gave way to frustration. Morales removed the device from the vehicle. He later said he believed someone had invaded his privacy. Without contacting police, without seeking legal advice, and without attempting to identify the owner, he tossed the device into a large commercial dumpster behind a shopping center. Then he forgot about it, at least temporarily.
Several weeks earlier, investigators had been conducting a narcotics investigation involving another individual. Authorities suspected that person was using multiple vehicles and frequently changing locations. According to later court records, officers believed one of the vehicles associated with the investigation was Morales' truck. Acting under a warrant approved by a judge, investigators installed a GPS tracking device. The warrant gave officers authority to monitor the vehicle's movements for a limited period of time. At least on paper, everything appeared lawful. Then, the signal suddenly disappeared. Investigators initially assumed the tracker had malfunctioned. Electronic equipment fails all the time.
Investigators began reviewing surveillance footage from locations where the signal last appeared. Eventually, they learned that Morales had removed the device and discarded it. That discovery created an unusual legal question. Had Morales committed a crime? Or had he merely removed an unknown object attached to his own property? The issue matters because ownership and possession are not always the same thing under American law. The tracker belonged to the government. The truck belonged to Morales. Those two facts existed simultaneously, and that's where the legal debate began. Federal law contains provisions that can make it illegal to destroy, conceal, or interfere with government property. At the same time, the Constitution protects citizens from unreasonable searches and seizures. The situation became even more complicated because Morales claimed he never knew the device belonged to law enforcement.
That detail would become extremely important. In many criminal cases, intent matters a great deal. If someone knowingly destroys government equipment, prosecutors may have a much stronger argument. But what if the person genuinely believes the object was placed by a stalker, a private investigator, a jealous ex-partner, or an unknown stranger? The legal analysis suddenly changes. Months later, investigators interviewed Morales. The conversation remained surprisingly calm. He openly admitted removing the device. He openly admitted throwing it away. He never denied any of it. Instead, he repeatedly asked the same question. How was I supposed to know it belonged to the government? That question proved difficult to answer.
Unlike a marked police vehicle or a uniformed officer, the tracker contained no obvious identification visible to an ordinary citizen. To Morales, it was simply a mysterious object attached to his truck. Investigators viewed the situation differently. From their perspective, a valid court order authorized the tracker. The device was government property. Removing it interfered with an active investigation. Two very different perspectives were now colliding. One focused on ownership, the other focused on authority. As legal discussions continued, constitutional issues entered the conversation. The Fourth Amendment protects people against unreasonable searches and seizures. Several years earlier, the United States Supreme Court had addressed the use of GPS tracking devices by police. The court concluded that physically attaching a tracker to a vehicle generally constitutes a search under the Fourth Amendment. That decision significantly changed how law enforcement agencies use tracking technology.
In many situations, officers now seek judicial authorization before installing a tracker. The warrant in Morales' case was intended to satisfy those constitutional requirements. But obtaining a warrant did not automatically answer the new question. Could a citizen be punished for removing something from his own vehicle when he didn't know who placed it there? Legal experts disagreed. Some argued that allowing citizens to discard government trackers would undermine legitimate investigations. Others pointed out that ordinary people cannot be expected to assume every mysterious device attached to their property belongs to law enforcement. The disagreement highlighted a larger constitutional tension. Government agencies often conduct investigations without notifying their targets, yet people generally maintain the right to control and inspect their own property. Sometimes those principles fit together neatly, sometimes they do not. Eventually, prosecutors reviewed the circumstances and reached a decision. No criminal charges were filed against Morales. Public records later suggested that proving criminal intent would have been difficult. The government could show that he removed the tracker.
So was it actually illegal to throw away the tracker? The answer depended on one critical issue. Did he know it belonged to law enforcement? That single question ultimately changed the entire legal analysis. Cases like this remind us that constitutional questions are rarely simple. Rights, government authority, privacy, and intent often collide in unexpected ways. So if you discovered a mysterious tracking device on your vehicle, what would you do?